Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wyatt Claypool Show. And yes, I did get a haircut, but I'm not here to talk about my pretty good haircut. I am here to talk today about the increasing desperation of Justin Trudeau's federal liberals. Man, you can tell that these guys were desperate before, but now they're pulling out all the most desperate cards they can use to try and either claw back in the polling or at least get some attention that's not entirely negative on themselves. But before I get into the issues that really demonstrate just how sweaty and desperate the Liberals currently are, let's just take a little trip down the polling lane and check out what the current polling is like. So, right now, the federal conservatives, these are polling averages. This is not just the best polls from these parties, these are polling averages. The conservatives are at 42.1%, liberals at 24.4, NDP at 17.7, Bloc 7.5, Greens 4.2, and PPC 2.7. That is an incredible margin for the conservatives, about a little bit less than 18 points. You do not see this in Canadian politics. A Canadian election lead, unless there's like a new party that hits the scene like Reform and the Bloc Québécois back in 1993, a good polling lead's like 7, 8 points, 10 points. 17 points, 17, 18 points, that is just a smashing victory. And that the funny thing is that Trudeau's not having to deal with any new party on his left flank. If anything, he's been benefiting from the fact that NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is utterly horrific at his job. Jagmeet Singh does no favors for the NDP, despite the fact, and I talked about this in one of my other videos, despite the fact that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are more unpopular than they've ever been before. Somehow Jagmeet Singh sucks at his job so much that he cannot exploit the situation properly so that he can actually gain some of the Liberal voters. All the Liberal voters are either saying, I'm staying home, or they're going to go vote for the Conservatives because the Conservatives actually represent significant change and reform to the things that Justin Trudeau is currently doing. All Jagmeet Singh represents is doubling whatever the current Liberals are doing. But yeah, you can see the polling. It's been like this for a year now. It's been insane how far ahead the Conservatives are from the Liberals. And as much as people like to say, well, we're still more than a year out from the next federal election, or at least when the next federal election must be called, sure. At the same time, a lead like this doesn't evaporate. We've never seen a lead of 17 points, an average of 17 points, just suddenly evaporate before the next election. Will it shrink? Yeah, sure, it could shrink. A lot of people become very weird before elections, where if a party's way ahead, they sort of go back to whoever they voted for before, even if they know the Conservatives are going to do a better job. People tend to have a normalcy bias where they very much kind of gravitate to doing whatever they used to do. But overall, there is a lot of people willing to switch, which makes it an impossible election for Justin Trudeau to win. And so, what are Justin Trudeau and the Liberals doing in order to try and bring it back, try and catch a little bit of energy, and maybe be able to win some more votes? Well, talking about abortion constantly, because that was a big election issue, apparently. They don't want to talk about crime, they don't want to talk about the debt, taxes, terrible job market, energy, foreign policy, Hamas encampments on college campuses that the Liberals have encouraged. They don't want to talk about any of that. So they want to talk about abortion because isn't it bad that some conservative MPs are not down with abortion, as if that was ever going to be controversial? But here we have, and I'll bring it up on screen, they're really mad about this statement that MP Arnold Viersen, a very good conservative MP, I think Arnold is a fantastic MP, and I hope the Conservatives stand up for him here. But he made this statement in Parliament about a petition that he had been circulating against certain abortion practices. And here's what he said.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to present a petition today signed by Canadians from across the country. These Canadians are concerned about the nearly 100,000 preborn children who die every year since the Morgentaler decision. Canada is only one of two nations in the world that have zero laws protecting the preborn. They also note that a child's heartbeat begins when the child is 6 weeks old, and they are calling on the government of Canada and this place to strengthen the protections for the preborn in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Arnold asked for a very reasonable thing in that petition, saying just let's strengthen some laws to protect unborn children. And even though the conventional wisdom in Canada is that don't touch abortion, don't be pro-life, just say you're pro-choice or say I'm personally pro-life, which is a very weaselly way of saying I don't want to do anything on this issue. If you're not pro-life, perfectly fine, you can be that thing, but don't do the weird thing like I'm personally for this. Are you politically against it or are you politically for it? That's all people care about. It doesn't matter what's in your heart if you're not going to vote that way. But what Arnold's asking for is maybe we should go in line with the rest of the world and leave the club of Canada and North Korea on the topic of life issues, and we should have some protections for unborn children, the 100,000 aborted every year. That would be good, especially considering that we keep freaking out about not having enough workers. Maybe it would be good to have certain encouragements for people to keep their kids and whatnot. That would be a good thing. And the Liberals are hammering this as hard as they can because apparently they think that this is their path into actually, I guess, winning extra votes. I don't know how this wins them votes. This just makes them honestly seem like fairly awful people. This is like the Liberals attacking Donald Trump. All you're going to do is make Donald Trump far more popular in Canada because know who's very unpopular in Canada? Justin Trudeau. And so if you attack anything or anyone and make that a battle between Justin Trudeau or Donald Trump or Justin Trudeau or abortion, you're going to have a lot more people turn against whatever Justin Trudeau's position is because people truly dislike him that much. So we see this graphic coming out from the Liberal Party, and it said, proudly pro-choice, abortion is healthcare. And again, it might be conventional wisdom that Canada tends to be a very pro-choice country, but when you start putting out slogans like abortion is healthcare, you're going to get a lot of moderates screaming and running to the hills because that's nuts. If you ever see the polling on actual abortion practices, things like sex selective, extreme late term, and all these other sorts of practices that most people are not on board with. Polling shows that like 95%, 85%, 75% of people want some sort of common sense restriction. So the Liberals acting like this is going to be the big election issue of 2025 is only shooting themselves in the foot because they do not have the brand strength to come out as we're the pro-choice party and the Conservatives are pro-life, so you better come back and vote for us. Because people aren't voting on this issue in the next election. They're voting on affordability, crime, debt, jobs, corruption, a lot of stuff. Life issues, even for pro-life voters, probably aren't their number one issue this time. So the Liberals bringing this up is only going to make people think, what's Justin Trudeau's position? Wow, that's crazy. And they're actually going to become more pro-life in opposition to Justin Trudeau's position. So in a certain sense, I'm happy to see the Liberals running on abortion because they're only going to make the pro-life conservative position more popular. I want to bring up another video because they were trying to make a big deal about this one where I forget what her name is. This might be Kathy Wagenthal speaking here, a conservative MP. It's so belittling where they act like the Conservatives are attacking women while a pro-life woman is speaking in front of the March for Life in Ottawa as if she is doing something wrong by having a conscience-based position on the issue of abortion. You're perfectly fine to do that, but the Liberals make it that it's either their no restrictions at all, do whatever you want position, or it's like, I don't know, Handmaid's Tale. It's utterly dishonest, and what Arnold Viersen, Kathy Wagenthal, and all these other MPs are asking for, other pro-life MPs like Damien Kirk have said it over time, is what the vast majority of Canadians would actually be on board with if there wasn't so much noise and sort of fear about talking about this issue.
The truth is not being told in general media or in our House of Commons about what abortion really does to your heart and your mind and your soul and your body. Thousands of women in this country that think that they're pro-choice.
That goes on for a bit. I don't need to watch the full clips. I don't want to just make this an entire just clip show viewing party. But this is a very desperate move by the Liberals. Is this going to move the needle at all? Maybe in the next month, I could see the Liberals recovering by a couple points. But again, this is not what the next federal election is about. No Canadian really cares about this issue over any of the other issues. And the Liberals' position is so uncompromisingly insane that you're going to have a lot of Canadians realizing they're actually somewhat pro-life in some ways. Again, look at all the polling on specific practices. Sex selective polls horribly. If the Conservatives actually ran against sex-selective abortion, or they ran against, like, they want to implement upgraded penalties for assaulting a pregnant mother and making her miscarry, the Liberals literally voted against that in the House of Commons. That was insane. They basically said if you assault a pregnant woman and she miscarries, that's nothing but a basic assault. That is out of their, like, that is crazy. Do they think that if they push this hard enough, the Conservatives won't bring that up, that they do not care about pregnant mothers? That's how pro-abortion they are. They're not just pro-choice. They literally do not care about pregnant mothers because they are just the anti-baby party. Because if you assault the pregnant mother and she miscarries, they consider that, who cares? That doesn't matter, because keeping that not a crime helps protect abortion, which is pants on head crazy. But anyways, I want to move on to something else, something sillier. Let's bring in some levity. That's a dark issue to talk about. I want to talk about Tim Hortons, and more specifically, Tim Hortons coffee lids. This sounds very petty, but I thought the whole topic was interesting. So the Conservative MP what's her name? Leanne Rood. I'm sorry, I do not know a lot of Conservative MPs' names by heart. Leanne Rood cut this video talking about Tim Hortons and their new lids that they have on their coffee. They are implementing paper lids, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And somehow this is going to fight climate change or whatever, even though paper products literally take more emissions to create more energy than plastic ones. Here's Leanna Rood talking about it.
Well, Canada, this is the last straw. I mean, lid. Really, Tim Hortons? Paper lids that disintegrate in your mouth? Come on. This is just another example of something trying to help the environment when it's actually going to have the opposite effect. If we have a plastic lid, at least it's recyclable. But this, disintegrating in your mouth as you're trying to drink your coffee? No thanks. I don't know about you, but until Tim Hortons gets rid of this paper lid, I'm done with Tim Hortons.
You know what? I love it. I know there's some people who think it's not a serious issue, don't talk about it. Well, I don't like talking about serious issues sometimes. And I think that this is kind of indicative of how much leftism has kind of creeped into just normal culture. And I'm not trying to fearmonger, like, first it's the paper lids, and next it's going to be Marxists making you get a hammer and sickle tattoo in order to order coffee. No, but the thing is, it's obviously something that conservative individuals, politicians, anyone should be pushing back on. That if a company is going to make a silly decision in order to do climate action or whatever, even though it's literally causing more energy emissions and this stuff doesn't even biodegrade and they're not reusable, whereas, like, you can keep putting a plastic lid on another cup and you're fine. Have you ever gone to a restaurant? Like, I'm not sure about you guys. If you have more than one refill in a drink with a paper straw in it, you need to get another one. And a paper straw literally takes 2.7 times more energy to create than a plastic straw. And the plastic straw, like Rood pointed out, is actually recyclable. But the Liberals are so desperate right now for any attention, any stick to try and beat the Conservatives with, they were actually willing to make an ad on this. They actually created this ad on their official X account in order to go after Leanna Rood for talking about the paper lids. So the Liberal Party's count says, Pure Poilievre's Conservatives are so unserious. With the National Post headline, Conservative MP declares war on Tim Hortons' woke paper lids. And it's a fun story. The Liberals who think that this is something that is going to make a lot of Canadians think, oh, I can't believe the Conservatives would be so unserious to highlight this. Most people think this is dumb, and they know that their local MP is just making a bit of a joke out of something very fussy, sensitive, and in a certain sense, woke, that Tim Hortons is doing. Nobody is turned off the Conservative Party by the Liberals posting this. But what many people could be turned off by is this really cringy video that the Liberal MP from, I believe, Edmonton posted. I have to get this up on screen. So this Liberal MP, one of the two Liberals in all of Alberta, posted this very strange clip of him eating at Tim Hortons, as if this was like a big own to Leanna Rood. Check this out. It's Randy Balsanot. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm sorry, Randy. But it's probably copyright music, so I can't play the music. But he's playing music with like this weird banging club beat, like really chowing down on that donut, looking a little bit too invested in this donut and coffee. But What I will point out to you, one, again, nobody, I don't think this is cringy. People don't like this. But also, he's not even using one of the paper lids. So I also noticed that Randy himself doesn't even like the paper Tim Hortons lids because they are awful. Would you want a plastic lid or a paper lid? If you're on a road trip and you order a extra large coffee, you're going to become a conservative by the end of that trip, even if you're a Marxist, just by having to use a paper lid for something that you're going to be sipping on for a long while. Well, such silly stuff in this country. But now I want to talk about something that's also silly, but it's more so something that it's annoying too. So I don't think it's a secret to anybody that the PPC stopped being a real party after the 2021 election. After Aaron O'Toole, especially after the Freedom Convoy, after Aaron O'Toole stopped being the federal Conservative Party leader, and Pierre Poilievre stepped up and was obviously going to be he's going to be the main guy to replace O'Toole. The leadership was kind of a walkover for Poilievre. That's when the PPC became irrelevant. And this is a little bit petty for me to bring up, not in the sense that I'm going after someone, I'm being petty to them as an individual. I just mean in the sense it seems small, but I think that this is very indicative of the fact that the PPC doesn't have a purpose anymore. So this is something that Greg Wycliffe posted in order to go after Pierre Poilievre. Because as we all know, the very heavily renowned journalist Rex Murphy passed away a few days ago on May 9th. He was an absolute giant in Canadian media, probably one of the last true intellectual characters in Canadian media. There's intellectuals in Canada's media, but I mean the perfect combination of a man who's a really deep thinker, as well as he is kind of an eccentric political character. Everyone loves Rex Murphy for good reason, but not this communist, not Dimitri Lascaris, who ran for the Green Party leadership race, and a good thing Anami Paul beat him back then, because this guy's a flat-out anti-Semite. And when I say he's pro-Russia, I don't mean like he doesn't have a Ukrainian flag in his name and in his handle on Twitter. So, you don't like Ukraine? Do you hate? Do you like Russia? I mean, like, he's literally pro-Russia. He goes and meets with the Russian government. He advocates against the West. He's an anti-Westerner. And he posted this after Rex Murphy died. He said, Rex Murphy, the dim-witted fascist who disgraced Canada, has passed away. And somehow really gives you a good insight into the way that these people think. This PPC guy, Greg Wycliffe, thought that this was a great moment to attack Pierre Poilievre. And he said, these are the types of people Poilievre conservatives and fake Canadian patriots think they need to pander to. People who think you're a stupid fascist who's better off dead. What are you possibly talking about, Greg? I remember Greg like a few years ago when he wasn't, like I've said before about other people, pants on head crazy. You think that the conservatives are trying to win the Dimitri Lascaris type of voters, pro-Russian, anti-Western, anti-Semitic voters who who are just like green activists, hate capitalism. That's a Poilievre voter? That's the guy Poilievre's going for? It's obviously untrue. But the PPC is so out of talking points to use, other than pure purity testing, that all they can do is just make stuff up. I was just doing a big phone calling blitz yesterday because the membership cutoff deadline for my nomination race I'm in for the Conservative Party in Calgary Signal Hill was yesterday. So I was calling through a few people. There's a few people that we were cold calling, hadn't called them before, who were big PPC guys. I'm perfectly fine with people voting PPC if they like their platform. I get it. I don't agree with the metric of voting for it when they can't win and they don't do enough even effort on the ground to even plausibly grow their party. But I get it. I understand that the platform is appealing to many people. But I had a guy talking about, Poilievre voted for UN Agenda 2030 back in 2005, and he voted for it again back in 2007, and that I don't trust him. He's on the payroll of the WF. And it's like, dude, Bernier went to the WF. I don't even hold it against him. He probably just went because, hey, I have to. The WF, what is this organization? I don't know anything about it. And then showed up. And that he kept going on about like these really tiny votes from Poilievre's career back when he was 25 and 26 years old that he's going to hold against him for the rest of his life. Yet I can point out all these things Maxime Bernier did. Maxime Bernier is extremely pro-abortion. Maxime Bernier was like extremely woke inside the conservative caucus, if you actually know the positions he took on stuff back then. Very pro-China, all this stuff. But he says, well, he apologized for that. No, he didn't. Maxime Bernier's never apologized for that stuff. He always pretends like he's always held the positions he currently has. Like when he suddenly became pro-life, when he jumped into the Portage-Lisgar by-election, he became pro-life 5 seconds before that, even though he used to attack pro-life conservative MPs for not joining him on his positions. This is where the PPC isn't taken seriously anymore. It's just purity testing nonsense. Guys, I can start the Wyatt Claypool party tomorrow. And guess what? It will hold all the positions that I hold. Wow, who could have guessed that the Wyatt Claypool party holds all of Wyatt Claypool's priorities? And I can go up to every single other party and say, well, you're not 100% doing what the Wyatt Claypool party is doing. That's what the PPC has become. It's a pet issues party. Issues that the party does not work hard enough to get people on board with voting for. They do not actually have EDAs. Their EDAs get deregistered because they don't actually file any of their paperwork. They don't file their financial returns. So the party is not serious, yet you'll still have people like Greg. Like, again, there's some people who still support them who are doing it for principled reasons. I get that. But then you get other people who are backhandedly saying, oh, the conservatives aren't brave enough to take a stance on this issue. You guys aren't brave enough to run on it, because all you guys do is just sign up some random person in a riding to run as your PPC candidate who doesn't campaign, and then you stand on social media saying, we have a far more hardcore platform than you. And the Christian Heritage Party has a more hardcore platform than the PPC. Why aren't you guys joining them? And then there will be another party that starts that's even more hardcore than the CHP, and then you guys want to go join that party. But whenever you bring up the fact that, well, you guys could have just joined the Christian Heritage Party, the Libertarian Party, they always say, well, they can't win. You guys can't win. And it's not that you can't win like, oh, it's a long shot, it will take a lot of effort. You guys can't win because you won't put in the effort. And again, I'm talking purely to the PPC brass. A local PPC guy, I forget his name, really nice guy, honestly. He is a regional organizer in Alberta for the PPC. He just resigned because the party does not give any support to the people who are actually working hard to try and grow them. They just kick you in the teeth, give you no support, don't help you out in your elections. They don't make their constitution that they keep promising. This party has proven that they cannot govern. And that is the number one thing you have to do to win an election. You have to be the guy that people think could actually do the job. You can't just be the guy who stands on a lot of principled positions and literally nothing else. You at some point have to walk the walk by at least showing the effort to actually win. Bernier never puts in the effort to win any of these races he jumps into. He never campaigned in both in the two elections in 2019 and 2021. And in Portage-Lisgar, he showed up 30 days before the vote to campaign, even though everyone knew the by-election was coming for 6 months since I think Candace Bergen had resigned like 5 months before that race. Everyone knew the race was coming, and he didn't campaign because he didn't want to. I think I said it was Bernier, but yeah, Bernier does not try. That's my whole PPC rant done over again for you guys. Hopefully that doesn't feel very repetitive, but I'll start wrapping it up now. PPC doesn't have any reason to exist. Liberals are desperate and flailing. I think they're actually going to make the country more pro-life in all their flailing, and I don't like paper lids. That's pretty much the recap for the episode. If for some reason you started this video and you only walked back into the room right now and you just wanted to know the Cliff Notes version. But that should be it for me today, guys. I just quickly want to plug the donation link for the legal fund. If you guys can donate anything to my legal fund, that would really help me out. We have this billionaire developer from China suing us for nothing. He has no evidence we defamed him. And after 2 years, he has not submitted any evidence to show that what we said was wrong. And he can't because we also weren't even the original ones who said it. We based off all our reporting on him from a Globe and Mail article released more than a year and a half before we published our own article about him and others donating to Aaron O'Toole. So anyways, that's at the Give, Send, Go link in the description below. And then also consider joining the National Telegraph Telegram channel, also linked in the description of this video below. Talk to you guys later. I'll be out with another episode soon.